before we get into Rings, let's talk about the chronology of the Ring films, because this is the 9th Ring film.
That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? This is the 9th Ring film.
And this is a saga that's been going since 1998, if you go back to the Japanese original. So
this could mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think the Ring is quite an important horror franchise in general. So the first Ring film in Japan comes out in 1998. At the same time they release a film called Racing, which is just a sequel, straight away. Because the book was so popular in Japan, they thought just one single film adaptation would be enough. So they released a film and a sequel in 1998. Racing gets terrible reviews, it's also known as Spiral, and everyone loves Ring. So they now see Racing as the forgotten sequel.
So it's like a business gamble, basically?
Yeah, they basically thought if we can put out 2 films at the same time, maybe fans of the book will be more drawn to it because they can cover more ground and give more justification for adapting the novel. But no one liked Racing. So then they kind of disregard that as a sequel. In 1999, Ring 2 comes out. In 2000, Ring Zero Birthday comes out, which is a prequel.
Ring what?
Ring Zero Birthday. Right. I got a DVD of that, but I haven't watched it yet.
And we're still in Japan at this point?
Yeah, all in Japan. And then 2002, the American remake of The Ring comes out. 2005, The Ring 2. And in 2012 and 2013, they released 2 sequels to Racing, the forgotten sequel, if you're following me.
Yeah, okay.
Sadako 3D 2012, Sadako 3D 2. So, like, obviously we haven't seen all of these films.
No, but that sounds like that's all the cash cow stuff. But
could be, but I don't know, because there's a lot of crossovers here with production teams and crews, which is quite interesting. Like, for example, the American remake of The Ring 2 has the same director as the Japanese Ring and Ring 2.
Yeah.
And that really shows in the American Ring 2, because it plays more with maternal anxiety, water themes of...
Japanese themes.
Japanese themes, yeah. But I think the reason why I wanted to mention how many Ring films there are is because we should treat The Ring as an important piece of horror cinema. It may escape both American and Japanese audiences.
I think that should be said about the American version as well, though, because even though, I mean, I like the American Ring, it's got quite a few problems, I reckon, but I like it a lot. And I think it started off the whole Japanese to American sort of franchise thing, where you got like The Grudge and
Dark Water,
and there's a bunch of these films that, and The Ring was the first one really to have commercial success, and that's why going into Rings, whilst it's getting bad reviews, and we'll discuss it now, you need to keep in mind that The Ring is an important film for American horror cinema.
Yeah, and I've always liked it. Like growing up, I was scared by both American and Japanese Ring films, so sure. I was excited to go back and watch them in preparation for Rings. And yes, so we saw Rings yesterday. So
that brings us to Rings. So I've written a summary, and to be honest, it's a bit vague because I think the reason why it's a bit vague is because of my problems with the first act. So a couple get mixed up in a network of people managing the Ring's tapes effects, leading to the ultimate quest for Samara's final closure. Like, final closure.
Yeah.
So, well, how does that fit in?
Well, it's worth noting that if we take the American trilogy as the canon for this film, then, because it's not based off Ring Zero or anything, so we've got the American Ring 1, 2, and this is 3. This is the first in the trilogy to steer away from the Naomi Watts storyline. So this is the first one to say we're going to do something different, we're now going to introduce new characters, and the tape's going to be presented as less as a direct kind of ghost onto one individual and more of like a spread out killer.
Which brings me to why I don't really like the first act. So you open up with a pretty cool idea. You're on a plane and you've got a guy on a plane who's basically seen the tape a week ago and he's panicking, and the tape is essentially released and everybody on the plane watches it basically, and the plane goes down or whatever. So it sets it up like that. And apparently a woman on the plane knows about the Ring tape and she wants to make a copy. That then leads you to these 2 new characters in the future who have obviously ended up with that tape somehow. And you think that, right, these are our 2 main characters, and that's Gabriel and Sky. And I quite like them actually. Like, they were kind of written a bit 2-star film, but for what it was, I was enjoying their performances. And then we cut away to a new scene of a couple on a bed, and apparently now they're the protagonists, and it took a really long time to decide and settle on who was the focus of this film. And I think that's why in the first act I was looking for, because I knew it was Rings, this isn't called The Ring 3, so this is making a statement in itself of saying...
Like Aliens.
Like Aliens, where it's like we're gonna do whatever, we're gonna adapt this lore into a random scenario, and this could go on forever, you could make 1 million of these films. That's what they're making a statement to do it. So I was looking for that story to start, and it just didn't until the second act. And I felt it was a bit too confused in the way that it bounced around, and the structure just kind of was unfocused, and that's why I was a bit bored.
Yeah. I love the first act. Yeah, like, I'm not a big fan of this film, but all my favourite scenes in the first act.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. In the first act, I was having so much fun. I think it's because when I watched The Ring 1 and watched The Ring 2, I think the film is at its most scary when Samara is infiltrating the family unit, when she's corrupting the child, corrupting Naomi Watts. Whenever the narrative of The Ring starts to go towards the video being like a serial killer, just picking off people, it gets a bit stupid for me. So in The Ring 1, it kind of alludes to the fact that nothing can stop the tape's method of killing, so it indicates that Samara might have left a voicemail to say 7 days, which is stupid. And when she goes to find the tape, it's in like a collection of other videos, and it's just on the side, and it's like, ooh. So for me, I like The Ring for its ghost story, not for its killer tape story. But saying that, in the opening scene of this film, it's taking down planes. Within 10 minutes, we're seeing researchers trying to like fool the tape and trying to trick it into not killing them, and they're coming up with a system called tailing, where if they watch it, they can pass it on. And I was going, okay, this is working, because at the end of The Ring 2, it gets a bit tiresome seeing that mystery solving being unpacked, because all the lore that's worth being explained is explained in the first film. So in this opening act, it's really over the top and really stupid. I was like, no, I'm happy with this.
I understand that.
It was like watching a genocidal tape, not a serial killer tape, and I was having fun. It was chaotic in a Final Destination way, and it wasn't taking itself too seriously, and I was enjoying myself. And the second act begins, and then it's like, oh, now the film starts.
Yeah.
We're going to take it seriously because we're a Ring film.
That's what I was waiting for.
And I was like, oh no, I was kind of enjoying the ride there.
Yeah, I think what you say about the opening act is correct, though, because it reminded me of Rogue One in the way that, like, when the opening act was playing out, you, when we watched Rogue One, were looking for the film to get going.
Yeah.
And I was just interested to see what they were going to do with this opportunity to do whatever they want with Star Wars. And in this, they're making a statement that we're going to do whatever we want with the Rings franchise. And when the opening act was happening, I was waiting for the story to get going, and you were just interested to see what they were going to do with it. So it was kind of like a role reversal of when we watched Rogue One.
It is,
and another reason why I thought about Rogue One was that it's that similar situation where Rich Evans makes the point about Star Wars being like a limited lore, a limited universe. Because it's not like Marvel, where you've got like an almost infinite trove of source material to go on. You haven't got like a series of books. It's just Star Wars. You've got the films and whatever's considered canon, which is obviously a process now. It's almost like a judicial process. So like, I don't know. It's like it forces you to ask questions that shouldn't have to be asked about the lore by expanding it this much. So for example, the thing in the Ring where you said about the voicemail thing, like that happens loads in this film, where something happens that forces you to question what's going on. So like with the voicemail thing, it breaks you a bit, because you think like, well, what if his voicemail was one of them ones where he's like, hello? I just wanted you to watch. Is she like 7 days? And then like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, if you wait.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so like in Star Wars, that's what's happening. They're opening up this universe, much to my approval, but it's forcing people to ask, like, hang on, well, what are black troopers? And you shouldn't have to ask those questions. It should just be suspension of disbelief. And I think this film suffers from that massively, and especially in the first act. But like I said, as soon as the second act picked up, I started really enjoying myself. I liked all the things that were being set up. I loved the idea of like a university professor sort of discovering the tape and then thinking, right, A, how am I going to expose this to everyone? Because fucking ghosts exist. So how am I going to like approach this? How am I going to capture it and prove it? And also, how am I going to not die? And then if I have to pass this on to one of my students, that's not fair, so how's he not going to die? I know, I'll set up an entire system and network where they've got screens up for each person and how much time they've got, and that'll work. And it does work in the film.
And that's like the strongest section for me, is when, that's a great scene when they go into the lab, and they go, like, they're blowing up photographs on the wall of everyone with the distorted faces.
The countdowns and stuff.
Yeah, and you realise that everyone's desperate to show the tape to someone else. And like, you can't ignore the fact that like, in the Ring films, that's how you get away from it, is you make a copy and show someone. So I like the fact that it's like, well, if this was 2017, how would you be doing that? Wouldn't you be making copies on your computer and you'd be emailing people? And it does get a bit friend request territory.
Only for one scene, really, though.
Yeah, but still, you do have that, like, the file size is bigger. And it's,
yeah, she can't copy the file. When she tries to make a copy, it's like, error, cannot copy. And he goes, your file size isn't the same. It's like, why would that mean you can't copy it?
Yeah.
But then that's good, because what it means is that another bit of footage has been added to the reel, which is cool, because you get
But the moment
New
that
stuff.
happens now, you're getting so distanced away from the, you know, the idea of a scary videotape. There's no attempt to make it frightening anymore because
it's not scary.
Because even the Japanese Ring using the videotape as this kind of vehicle for horror and terrorizing people, that's not a completely original idea. I mean, Cronenberg's Videodrome and even Blair Witch in the way it's shot uses this kind of like VHS fear of what if the tape. And people used to say about The Exorcist, you know, what if the celluloid itself is cursed, is haunted.
Well, it's like in the Michael Haneke film, isn't it, Hidden, where like the horror of this family. Hidden is about a family that keep receiving anonymous tapes of themselves just going about their own business with the post. And like there's a theme in Hidden where like, or at least I've taken this from it, that the tape is seen as like a thing of embarrassment because, or like a thing of shame.
It's got secrets
because it's got not necessarily, but I mean, you'll have to watch the film, but like it kind of comes with it this like draping.
But anyway, my point is, once she starts copying and pasting the video and finding out that the file size is too big, so they need to, maybe there's a video in a video, it is fucking stupid. Like, and there's loads.
There's not that physical horror of the tape.
There's no kind of physicality, no tangible element of the horror. And even though I like the first act, it's stupid. It's stupid. But second act, I was just bored to fuck.
See, I was entertained for the second act. It wasn't until the third act that I was reminded that this film is really stupid. I think the reason for that though is because I haven't seen Ring 2. So I saw the Ring 1, and this film is about characters that I think are explored in Ring 2, and I get a feeling that for someone that's seen Ring 2, they're laying it on thick all the time, because the characters in this, it's all about the backstory of people from Ring 2. So, and I think the reason why the third act is quite confusing and it doesn't hit home very well is because it does the same quest for redemption that the other Ring films do, where the mother goes out to try and find the body so she can be heard and released and whatever. And they end up going down that route, which is why in the second act, when I'm being entertained by all this potential new exploration, and it ends up being reduced to what the other films do, it's a bit disappointing. And also, the backstory in this is about Evelyn, Samara's mother, and how she was abused and kept in a basement. But the person we're still trying to save is still Samara. So in the Ring, where you're going after Samara and discovering a sad story as you go, it works. You care about Samara and you're scared of her. But in this, you're learning about her mother, but the villain is still Samara. So there's no connection between the villain and the story. So it's just not. It falls flat. So you talk about why is the Ring scary?
But it's also cheap though. But not just the Ring is scary because of its pacing and its patience with the film. I liked Rings for the most part because it wasn't taking itself as seriously and it wasn't too concerned with being scary. But once it tries to be scary and it goes, okay, now we're in the middle of the second act, we're going to unpack the mystery of the Ring. It's all based around Samara's mother, Evelyn, who we've met in the Ring 2. We've known her backstory. There's a scene when Naomi Watts goes to visit her in a mental institution. This isn't a new character, and the way they present Evelyn in this Rings film is as though this is new information that is key to the Ring lore and it's going to make things more frightening, it's going to flesh out Samara. And I was thinking, all you're doing is giving us a backstory to a character that was pretty tiresome in the Ring 2. Like when you watch the first Ring film and they're exploring the mystery of it, it's fucking scary, you know, you learn about what happened to Samara. The Ring 2 feels like it's squeezing the flour a bit too much, trying to drain out some extra content in that backstory.
So this one being a new idea, it should be
So this one being a new idea should be cool, but then it ends up falling back into the what else can we gather up about Evelyn? And by this point I was thinking, I'm bored now.
That didn't work for me, look, because I haven't seen the second one, so this was all new to me. So I think if I had seen the second one, I think I'd be a lot more angry than I am, and I'd be a lot more cheesed off. I was able to lose myself a bit in the stupidity of it, as well as really enjoying the kind of the second act setup that they'd gone for. And I like the characters. The acting wasn't too abysmal. It wasn't.
No, it's just the writing's a bit bad.
The writing was bad.
The two central performances are pretty good. The problem is there's not an attempt to give them personalities through the screenplay. There's not even any character traits. As I was saying when we come out of the cinema, I just wanted to see him maybe drive his car a bit quick, maybe cut a corner. Let's see him smoke a cigarette. I don't know, anything. They're just going around and talking exposition and being these, you know,
agents to the plot.
Yeah, and that's disappointing because that's not what the Ring is.
And there's even a scene where Gabriel, who's like the professor that's investigating the whole thing, and he's like basically says to him, "You have to go off and find the place where the new tape is, and the new tape's got all this new footage in it," which is really cool. I was glad we got a new tape. But then they go off and he basically gives them like he goes, "This is all my research so far." So basically what he's saying is, use the exposition to talk about in the car on the way there. And sure enough, again,
to page 66.
To page 66. Samara was there. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
me, I already know all this. Like,
Yeah, and just quickly, another criticism I have, which I thought was stupid, was you've got this priest character in the end of the third act, and he's introduced earlier in the film, and it turns out he's got more sinister.
it's Private Pyle from Full Metal
Private
Jacket.
Pyle plays a
He keeps
priest.
showing up.
Yeah, he's got a sinister background involved in the Samara story, and I just didn't give a fuck about him. Like at the end, when he was strangling, you go like, "And God will rage upon you." I was thinking, "What's going? This is the climax of the film. Why am I watching Private Pyle
Where's the ring?
screaming,
Where's Samara?
screaming fundamentalist Christian, doctrine at this girl while threatening to beat her up? Where's the ring film?
I get why that character's in it. I mean, you've had this happen a lot lately in pop culture. You've got like 10 Cloverfield Lane, where you've got the big man,
The
with
big southern,
conservative
conservative guy.
strange
I would
mysterious, and ends up being this overpowering maniac. Resi 7, the game, seems to have a similar
Very
vibe.
post-True Detective for me.
Yeah,
And that whole sequence was very similar to a film that came out last year called Don't Breathe, where some kids get locked in a house with a blind ex-army vet who tries to kill them. And it was almost kind of a carbon copy of that. There's even a scene in Don't Breathe where the blind man turns the lights out in the house, so then the kids are in his domain.
levels
blind.
like.
And he does that in Rings. He's trapped in the house with her and he turns the lights out, but it has no real effect. I mean,
You don't care about the characters, or
no, because there aren't any really.
I wasn't so bothered by the blind guy because I think just because I wasn't as attached and invested into the lore, so I was just happy to have a guy who could explain the lore a bit more to me. Not that he did, to be honest. And also, I think they failed on revealing that he was the priest that kept Evelyn in the basement, because they turned up to his house and he was basically the Friday the 13th creepy guy.
Yeah,
Oh no, and he's got like, he's blind and he's got a stick, so there's this element of like, he's going to be an important character in this film. And the scene after they see him, he basically says, "I look after the graveyard," and then afterwards they're talking about the priest, and I'm just like, oh, they must be on about him. And then it's revealed that he was the priest that kept Evelyn, and I was like, but at no point have I not considered that to be the case.
Oh, see that.
So it didn't come across as like a twist to me. I just assumed that when they were talking about the priest, they were on about him.
Yeah, it did for me. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. I followed the plot as like, okay, that's the twist, but again, there was no. It's the priest. No. I was like, oh, okay, they've used his character.
It just went completely over my head though. I just thought he was the priest.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because I wasn't paying too much attention, because his speech, when he started doing a speech about the law and about the background and the exposition, I was like, I'm actually up for this because I'm confused and I want to know some things. And halfway through it, I realised I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like he was struggling to engage me in anything outside of the Gabriel and Sky concept.
Yeah. Well, so, I was more engaged when he was kind of doing something completely different to the rest of the Ring saga, and the moment it reverted back to being a Ring film, it did it in all the wrong ways. Like I want it to be a Ring film. I'm not saying that I wanted it to be a Final Destination for the whole 90 minutes, but the reason why I didn't execute it very well was take the ending, take the final scene where Samara becomes the protagonist. She takes over her body, her physicality.
Yeah.
That's what number 2 is about. Number 2 is about Samara taking over the personality and the body of the child, so she can have Naomi Watts as the mother.
Why does she want to be a woman?
So now she doesn't want to be a child. She wants to be a grown woman who's dating guys.
The scary nature of the Ring comes from the fact that this desperate girl is looking for a mother, and she's chosen you to be a mother. And that's why it's scary, because you know that she's hell-bent on something that's sad and that's like humanistic, and that's why it's weird and creepy. But in this, it's like, you don't know, there's no context to Samara, that you're learning about her mother instead, and then somehow you've got to be scared of her, even though there's no context to what's going on. She doesn't want that woman to be a mother, because she ends up assuming the body of it. There's nothing about maternal. It was just a mess, basically.
Yeah. But what I would say to defend the film is that they use a tape within a tape, so you go back to watch the original tape and now there's a secret tape within it that's specifically designed for the protagonist. And when they play that tape itself, it's really cool, it's really scary. Like
I love that bit.
Yeah, like the Ring films for me are defined by certain sequences. You know, the bathtub scene number 2, the crawling out of the TV, and that scene, and that's repeated in this film, isn't it?
Which was fun.
Yeah, but in this film I actually really liked the new tape, and the idea was silly. When they actually played it, I was like, oh, this is scary.
And I think I only really appreciated it and liked it because of the lack of those sequences in the film. So when it happened, eventually it was...
You're happy to see it, yeah.
Alright, so verdicts anyway, I think. When I came out of the cinema, I did enjoy myself. Like, I was entertained. There was no point where I was thinking, like, oh my god, when's this going to be over? Maybe towards the end of the first act I was getting worried that it was going to be like this for the whole film. But I was entertained for the most part. I was going to say, trying to justify giving it like a 6 out of 10, and I thought I can't, because to say a 6 out of 10 would say it's a notch above average, because 5 is just bang straight down the middle, a 3-star bang average film. 6 out of 10 is still a 3-star film, but it's a defensible one. And if you're going to give a 3-star 6 out of 10 to something, it needs to achieve what it sets out to achieve, at least to be considered above average. And I'm not going to say that this should be a sequel to Ring and Ring 2, because it doesn't present itself like that. So it doesn't have to achieve that, and it does something else successfully. However, this is supposed to be a horror movie, and it isn't scary, there aren't frightening sequences, and it is boring for a lot of it. So really, I can't say that it's even average, really, as a horror movie. It's an average movie, but it's not an average horror movie. It's a below average horror movie. So for that sake, as a horror fan, I gotta notch it down below 5 and give it a 4, and go for the highest of 2 stars. With 3 out of 10 being a low 2-star, 4 out of 10 being the highest of 2 stars, I think it just cuts short of being a good film.
Yeah, and I think, like, okay, I'm 5 out of 10, even though kind of my review is more lean to a 4, because I'm more critical than I am in praise of it. I was watching it and I was thinking, when I was watching The Bye Bye Man a few weeks ago, I didn't even feel like they were attempting to try anything. I was offended by the cash-in nature of The Bye Bye Man, because I didn't feel like they were even trying to give me something and failing. There was no attempt made. Where I'm very critical of the Evelyn storyline in this film, yeah, but you know, at least they did go for Ring fans. I personally wouldn't mind seeing it all explode and then see what else they can do with it, but they do try and go back into the lore. They do try and set up some scary characters, and they fail, so you know that is an issue. But I think I was happy to go see another Ring film, and I thought that there was a few things that I liked, and when she pulled herself up from the TV and the flat screen was on the floor. And I'll tell you why, overall, my final point why this is an average film for me, is because I wasn't that bothered about the fact that it was all over their phones.
No, I like that. When you come out the phone on the floor,
yeah,
cool.
When you think about, okay, so in the modern day, we don't use videotapes anymore, the joke would be, oh, they're all going to be coming out on your phones. And that sounds like Stephen King's Cell level of stupidity. But those bits just come across like, oh, it's 2017, it's a Ring film. And
it felt like a consequence to their environment, not a forced gimmick.
And that's an achievement, I think, because you know that could so easily be the stupidest thing.
It is a minor achievement in a horror movie, though. If this film was about technology, that would be an essential achievement.
Oh, there's no subtext to it.
But there's no subtext to it, so you can't really praise it for it that way.
Yeah, I go down the line. I think it's an average film. I think it's more towards the lower end of a 5 out of 10. But I think there is some potential there, especially in that really fun first act, to make me go back and rewatch it. And I think I can't go below average, because I am going to rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm not excited to give this a bad score. I enjoyed myself, but you can't. There's only so far. I have to say, I enjoyed myself, but I'm also me. I have a very, very, very high tolerance for shit. So like, so it is a 4 out of 10 for me. But I've given it 2-star. You've given it 3-star.
Yeah, but no, yeah, cool. If you've seen the other Ring films, go see it. If you haven't, maybe not.
If you've seen Ring 1, go see it. If you haven't seen Ring 2, you're probably going to enjoy it more than you would if you've seen all the Ring films.
Maybe.
As long as you're aware of what Samara is, like you are aware of what Freddy and Jason are, you'll probably enjoy this.
You have a good time.
Yeah.